So hawkfeather, what does feminism mean to you?
I think that's kind of a big question, actually, because in the last few years I've talked to a lot of different women that have told me that they believe in women's rights, but they're not feminists. And I've asked people about that, about why they say that, and I think they associate the term with some sort of something negative now. It seems to have become some sort of term for something militant and negative, but to me it still just basically means advocating for women's rights, basic human rights, you know, for women to be equal. Nothing more than that, really. So I'm a little confused why people think it's something negative. Yeah, I've never really understood that.
Yeah, where do you think that rabid militant thing comes from?
You know, I think there's this inherent thing that goes on, that women seem to still be associated with weakness, and I think that a lot of women still feel like to be feminine, they need to be weak somehow. Well, I use the term weak, but I think that could be broadly interpreted. But I think that sometimes people shy away from allowing themselves to seem strong socially, especially when it comes to gender issues. And even though primarily I see it so much the opposite, you know, that being feminine is so powerful and strong, and I'm not sure why it's become so negative, but it's so strange to me.
So given your definition of feminism, do you think that there's still a need for feminism in the 21st century?
Absolutely, I do. Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. I think is what I was just saying is a good reason. I have 3 daughters and I have 2 sons, and I'll say, you know, I'm worried about my daughters growing up to be strong women, but I'm just as worried about my sons growing up and how they view gender roles and their own gender and you know, female gender. And I think I look at where we live in near Vancouver, and you know, I don't see how anyone wouldn't think it's so important anymore when there's still such an imbalance out there, and when people shy away from being strong just because they're worried about how they'll look. That I don't know, that to me is why it's important.
So how would you define an empowered femininity? What would that look like?
That's a good question. Empowered femininity. Oh, you know what? It's such an individual thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think empowered to one person might not be empowered to another. You know, I tend to associate power with, you know, birth and rites of passage and such. But you know, I know wonderfully powerful women that don't want children and are so strong in that. I think there's a basic self-confidence that, to me, I associate that with being empowered, you know, and the femininity of it, that's relative to me also, you know. Anything that you're accepting who you are as an individual, to me, that just naturally is confident, and you know, that to me is femininity. I can see it in men or women or anyone, you know, just you know, not denying that aspect of yourself. Yeah.
So hawkfeather, what drives you to make your art?
I always have done it, so I'm not really sure. Sometimes I question, you know, the validity of spending so much time doing art.
Mm-hmm.
I'll see my husband spending time to bring money into our home, and then I can spend hours and hours doing a painting that I might not even necessarily have a venue to show at, let alone sell or do anything. But I hope that it influences people. I hope that it, you know, I hope that something about it impacts someone in some positive way, even if they just basically like it aesthetically. That makes me happy. If the message doesn't get brought through, okay, as long as someone enjoys it on some level, it makes me happy. It's kind of like separating myself from the busyness of life, because you have to be so focused, really, to do it. I can't be, you know, having my mind all over the place and answering questions to kids and fixing things and doing things. I have to be completely focused on what I'm doing.
Who inspires you?
There's so many, you know. I know a lot of women that inspire me on a basic, like, that I know, you know, that really inspire me. But when it comes to more renowned artists, I really like Judy Chicago's work, because she does stuff that's more female to me. She's not afraid to, you know, it doesn't have to be a flower masked as a vagina. It's a vagina, right? It doesn't, and it's just, I like that. She does birth art and some things that I just like the imagery of, you know. I do like Frida Kahlo a lot. I always have. I just like her stuff. It feels good and raw to me, and she's telling a story. The narrative of it I really like.
So what is your vision as a woman artist for the 21st century? If you had to, like, you know, you get to dream it, what do you see?
If I get to dream it?
Yeah.
You know what? I think being shown equally and not ever, you know, questioning that there's going to be 10 male artists in front of me having their work displayed before mine, you know, knowing that it's actually an equal footing. I think too, having art brought down more to people, it seems sometimes people disassociate art from themselves because they think it's this. I can't count the people that have said to me, oh, I wish I could paint, or I wish I could spend the time doing what you're doing, and I used to draw, but now I work, and now you know, it seems like it's something that people, they're not artists, so they can't do art.
And what are your challenges to seeing that vision come true?
A lot of people getting over the ideas, right? Those roles that are set out that really don't mean anything, and I'm not even sure where they came from in the grand scheme of things. If people can just let go of those standards that are kind of set out and realize if you want to do art, there's really nothing stopping you from doing it except for your own head, maybe, right? Yeah. And you know, when it comes to equal footing for showing, I think it's more of that preventing it. I don't know what's preventing it, but I think overcoming it is just a matter of pursuing, right? Continuing to put your work out there and just, you know, if there's 10 submission requests, I'm going to put my art into all 10 and just, you know, keep driving at it and asking questions and pushing in more shows organized by women that are women-oriented. I think would be really helpful for that too.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for doing this.
No problem.
Yeah.